Cheating wife drugged me to cheat with our neighbor. Reddit cheating stories. I never thought the woman I loved would become the one who would destroy every ounce of trust I had in humanity. My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how my wife, the person I built my entire world around, betrayed me in the most twisted, unimaginable way. It all began like any other Thursday evening. I came home from work exhausted, still wearing the smell of machine oil and sweat from my construction job. My wife, Lily, greeted me with her usual soft smile, wearing her favorite blue dress, the one I bought her on our anniversary. She told me she made my favorite meal, lasagna, and poured me a glass of wine. I remember thinking, maybe she's finally trying to fix things between us. We'd been distant lately. Her laughter had turned mechanical. Her phone was always glued to her hand, and she'd disappear for hours with vague excuses, groceries, gym, visiting mom. I sensed something was wrong, but I kept convincing myself that it was just stress. After all, marriage isn't perfect. That night, though, something felt off. Her eyes avoided mine, and she was nervous. Still, I smiled, took a sip of the wine, and told her I loved her. The words felt heavy in my mouth, but before I could think too deeply about it, a strange drowsiness washed over me. My vision blurred. My hands trembled. I could barely hold the glass. Lily, what's happening? I murmured, struggling to keep my eyes open. She didn't answer. She just gave me that same cold, uneasy smile. The last thing I remember was her whispering, "Just rest, honey." When I woke up, the world felt wrong. My mouth was dry, my head pounding, and my body weak, like I'd been out for hours. The TV was off, the dinner untouched, but the faint sound of laughter echoed from outside. I staggered toward the window and froze. There, in our neighbor's backyard, our married neighbor, Mark, was Lily. Her arms around him, their lips pressed together under the dim porch light. I remember standing there, trembling with disbelief. My chest felt like it was caving in. She drugged me, so she could be with him. My heart shattered. I wanted to burst out the door, scream, confront them. But something in me broke differently. I didn't want to give her that satisfaction, to see my pain, my rage. Instead, I turned away, sat on the couch, and tried to process the unbearable truth. I must have fallen asleep again because when I woke up the next morning, Lily was in bed beside me, pretending nothing had happened. She smiled as if the night before never existed. "You slept so well," she said cheerfully. "I told you the wine would help you relax." I played along. "Yeah, I guess it did." That day, I went to work, but my mind wasn't there. I replayed everything over and over, and by the time I returned home, I had a plan. I needed proof, not for revenge, not even for closure, but because I couldn't live with the doubt anymore. I installed a hidden camera in our living room, the place where she usually hung out when I wasn't around. I also set up a recording app on my phone, syncing it with our home Wi-Fi. The next few days were torture. She continued acting like the perfect wife, cooking my meals, hugging me, even asking if I wanted to plan a weekend getaway. Every smile she gave me felt like poison. Then came Friday. She told me she wasn't feeling well and wanted to stay home while I went to work. That was my cue. I pretended to leave, parked a few blocks away, and waited. At 10:30 a.m., Mark's car pulled into the driveway. My pulse raced. Within minutes, they were inside. My phone buzzed with motion alerts. I opened the app and watched the feed. There she was, my wife, leading him into our living room. Laughing, kissing, holding his hand. And then, the words that burned into my soul. "He's probably knocked out again," she giggled. "I put some of that stuff in his coffee this morning. He'll be out for hours." Mark chuckled. "You're insane, Lily." "Insanely in love," she whispered, kissing him. That was it. I'd seen enough. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. I drove straight to my lawyer's office, then to the police. What she did wasn't just infidelity, it was a crime. Drugging someone without their knowledge. That crossed every imaginable line. When Lily got home that evening, 2 officers were waiting at the door. I watched from my truck as they handcuffed her. She screamed my name, crying, begging me to talk to her. But I didn't move. I just sat there, numb, watching the woman I once loved get taken away. The truth spread fast. Mark's wife found out too, and within weeks, both of them were divorced. Lily tried to reach out from jail, letters, calls, everything, but I blocked her. There was nothing left to say. It took months for me to start healing. I joined a local support group, talked to a therapist, and slowly rebuilt my life. For a long time, I couldn't trust anyone. I'd flinch every time someone offered me a drink or acted too kind. But over time, I realized something: her betrayal wasn't my failure. Her darkness didn't erase my worth. A year later, I met someone new. Emma, kind, grounded, and patient. I told her everything, every scar, every nightmare. She didn't judge. She just listened and said, "You didn't lose her, Ethan. You lost the illusion of her. Now you get to find peace." And she was right. Looking back, I don't hate Lily anymore. What she did was cruel, unforgivable, but holding onto hate only kept me in her prison. I let it go, not for her, but for me. If there's one thing I've learned from this nightmare, it's this: trust is sacred. Never let someone make you doubt your sanity, your worth, or your instincts. Sometimes, the people who smile the most hide the darkest secrets. But once you see the truth, you have a choice: to stay broken or to rebuild stronger than ever. I chose to rebuild. And that's why I'm sharing this story. Not for pity, but for anyone who's ever been betrayed in the most painful way imaginable. You're not alone. And no matter how deep the wound, you can heal. Because even when the person you loved most poisons your trust, you can still rise, clean, free, and unshakably strong.